hey, when you're coming apart, when you're coming up empty, like a shot in the dark, and hey, when you're closing your eyes, I know that you're tired. Let me tell you again. Oh, the light I'm seeing is coming from you. Oh, the light you're needing is coming from you. And it never ends, and it never ends, and it never ends, and it never ends. So just let it go. Everyone feels like this. You're not the only one. The light I'm seeing is coming from you. And all the light you're needing is coming from you. And it never ends, and it never ends, and it never ends, and it never ends. You shine the light you got inside with all your might, so make it brighter and brighter. You shine the light you got inside with all your might, just make it brighter and brighter. And all the light I'm seeing is coming from you. And all the light you're needing is coming from you. And it never ends. Oh, it never ends. And it never ends. All the light I'm seeing is coming from you. And all the light you're needing is coming from you. All the light you're needing is coming from you. And it never ends. It never ends. It never ends. And it never ends. And it never ends.
Okay, I'm getting used to it now. Oh, Ryan, we made that request. Actually, Kerstin made that request. She'd heard that song. And after we made it, we were like, that might not be for Ryan, because I think it was higher. And you two got together and just made it work and then sang together. It was so beautiful. So thank you. Thank you. And I know, like, you can feel it, right? Like, could you just sing that to me every day? because when you say it like that, I can feel it, I believe it. We're looking at our power of imagination this month, and I realize that that's the first step, is to be able to even hold the idea that that's true, that we are the expression of this light and this love, to let that, hang on. It's so pretty, I know, it's so pretty. To let that come into our awareness, and then to feel the depth of that. Those are the first two steps of imagination, as Carly has let out of the bag there. Linda Martello Whitsitt in the book Divine Audacity says that imagination is the greatest tool for us to assume and claim our divine identity. We think of it as, oh, I'm just not creative. No, it's so much more than that. It's, can we even have this idea that there's more to me than this and this and this? All of that is wonderful. And it sometimes isn't enough. Yeah, it's limited, right? So, okay, go ahead and put the slide up. I'm all excited today. Get ready. I have only had 1 cup of coffee. You're welcome. So to think of imagination, to think of it how it expresses through us, is through our ability of conception of ideas. I was going to say that, like the ability to conceive. And nobody's going to laugh. Okay, good. I was like, to conceive, and really you can think of the physical location is in the third eye, right? And so it's actually the ability to receive inspiration, right? We can think of a lot of ideas, and some of them aren't so great, right? But to open our mind up to receive into this limited mind the fullness of all possibilities. All possibilities exists in the mind of God, in divine mind, in the universe, however that works for you. They already exist. We are like tuning into them. I think of that most clearly when I think of like those who've discovered the law of gravity and all these big things, right? They already existed. It was already true. But they opened their mind to receiving this huge idea. And we can all do that. We're all being called to do that, I think. So, conception, envision, and embodiment. So we receive an idea, we receive an inspiration of some sort, and then we can hold the vision of it. We can see it as if it's already so. And when we do that effectively or efficiently or regularly, I should say, we can actually feel as if it's already so, right? Nothing has changed in the outer, but we are changing inside. We're realigning to how would it be? How would I feel if this were already so? And we can taste it almost. We can smell it. We can feel it. That's the power of our ability to envision. And then we come to embodiment. I'm already off my notes, darn it. Yeah, let me back up because I do want to say that within envisioning, we also have the capacity to revision, right? What has happened before and all the ways that we've acclimated and told ourselves the results of that are limiting us or shaming us or blaming us or whatever, we can revision how it is we want to live from here. Recognizing that everything that happens to us is to grow us. It's not to condemn us or shame us. How can we grow through this experience? And I bring that up because I want to remind us of last Sunday, and many of you were here, and if you weren't, I'll catch you up to date. We were invited by Catherine to consider our role in the revolution, meaning what is this time that is so ripe with recreating, right? And she reminded us that the word revolution really comes from the root word, I don't have that, but that means we change something at its root, not just at its surface. We go to the root of what is needing attention, needing fixed, needing a new solution. We don't just keep patching. I don't know about you, but sometimes I'm like, oh, here we do. We just revision it. There it is. It's just kind of a new version of the old one that wasn't working so great. Yeah, I got you, Robin. Lainey. So, as we consider the idea of revolution as a radical change of some aspect of our current understanding and expression by going to the root of it, many of us, though, immediately conjured up war and guns and fear when we said revolution, pointing to our human tendency towards negative, right? We have that negativity bias. And not only that, we have our default system is really to rehash and then reimagine what could go totally wrong. That's what our human mind does as a way to protect and keep us going, keep us protected. We have the same capacity to envision something quite positive, quite fulfilling, quite beautiful, quite creative. And it is that's the pull of spirit, right? To say what could be created versus look at all the destruction. Get ready, right? And I sensed it, and I sensed it too. And I just want to point out that when we went through that experience, to recognize that equally as possible was the vision of a world where there is more beauty, more freedom, more safety, more sufficiency, more solidarity, yada, yada. You can feel the expansiveness of that in your body versus, you know what's going to hit the fan and people are going to go crazy, right? We're getting to embodiment. I'm building you there. When we looked at, and we'll talk more about what you all wrote and what you left, but I just wanted to offer this expansiveness of what's, I put together a few of what you had stated about what the post-revolution world felt like. It smells like fresh baked bread and sounds like children laughing. And it feels like belonging. Do you feel that expansion? That's the same possibility there. So this component of embodiment is the third component of how our imagination expresses. Linda Martella-Whitsitt calls it the pinnacle of creation. We can think about things all day long. We can dream about them so much that we feel them. But until we're moving about as though they are possible, they often don't become possible. She said, Linda Martella-Whitsitt also says that embodiment is the counterpart to the manifestation of an idea. It's the thing that has to happen, really, for this to come out into here. And we want it to come out into here, and then we'll step into it. That's not how it works. Anybody experience that? Yeah, you step into it, and all of a sudden, you are experiencing it. And things line up accordingly. And yet, who in here feels really comfortable with embodiment? Ooh, just solid on your embodiment. Not one hand, there's a couple of you. Right, we've been talking about that, how we are at the point of recognizing we live from here up way so much of the time. And there is wisdom in our bodies. Our bodies remember so much. The mind is certainly a gift, but no more so than our emotional wisdom or the wisdom of our body. And so it is this aspect of imagination in expression, this need for embodiment, that made me think of Kerstin Caldwell, who I told you would be with us today. Kerstin studied improvisation at the Second City and the Improv Olympics in Chicago. She was honored to take workshops on human experience through the lens of improv with Academy Award-winning Alan Arkin. She'll fill you in on that anytime. Yeah. Not today. No, not today. She's not going to do that. She went on to spend 8 years as an artist in residence at William Smith High School, where her approach to teaching improv evolved into a complete and successful curriculum of self-awareness. She's gone on to teach that in correctional institutes. That's one of your big passion. And she was also thrust onto a journey of recovery after a car accident that left her with a traumatic brain injury and a subsequent diagnosis of PTSD, which she'll talk a little bit more about. And that led you, though, which is interesting, and you'll also talk more about, to learning about neuroplasticity, how we can how our brain is pliable. It can be remolded, as well as just learning the ins and outs of the nervous system. I've learned so much from you about that. So she recently did a workshop for us here called The Freedom of Expression. It was an improv workshop, and most people are like, improv, no thanks, right? But it was really about reclaiming play as a way in. I see it as a way into embodiment that kind of we get in there before we realize, wait a minute. But sometimes we realize it, even in the play. I'm not going to play. What do you mean I'm going to play? Do you know how old I am? I don't play, right? So there's all this stuff that comes up. But I couldn't help but notice how fully present I was. I was fully embodied. And yeah, sometimes I was worried if I was going to get it wrong. But most of the time, I was screaming like a 6-year-old girl. You remember. Some of you are still hard of hearing from that. So I'm going to have Kerstin come up and talk a little bit about, get us started on this. And we're going to do this real casually, because we're going to, come on up. Bring your body up here.
Oh, thank you.
And I just want to say, I'm just going to say this out loud because I swore I would. Mm-hmm. This is giving me impetus to say, I am on the verge of a podcast. And this is kind of how it's going to happen. I always wanted to be Johnny Carson, and now I can do it. Well, maybe not Johnny Carson, but anyway, that role, I can do it without being on film, which will be great, just be on the radio.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, you can show up wearing whatever you want.
That's right.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah.
I'm excited to be here. I have a big belief that we are all born improvisers. And I know that to be true after having children and watching them just get into everything when they were little and developing. And to be honest, as adults, those of us who have been drawn to doing it as a career path or a way of expressing ourselves, I really feel like there is a developmental part of us that really is a child and doesn't do well in regular adult world stuff. And so to be the smarty pants in the room and the person who learns to get all the attention, it's a good place for us to go. But now in the embodiment and learning how to be an embodied improviser, what I had to do was I had to get out of the way. I had to allow the information to come at me and not be in my head, because a lot of times I was coming to the stage, first of all, because I needed to be seen. I needed attention really badly. I grew up in a funeral home.
Whoa.
Yeah, no joke. That's totally true. In my 30s, I started realizing, my sister and I hated each other so much because we had an older sibling called Death that got more attention than we did. Oh, wow, okay, that makes sense. They don't exist really. We can come together now. And so we've been working on that in our adult lives. But what I see it as is we're born improvisers, but we start buying into the lies of adulthood. The things that we're told we have to be or how we have to behave, and we just fall into that. And that's just how it is. So I had to be quiet a lot as a kid because, there's people downstairs. There's a family here.
Yeah, but they can't hear you.
No, the dead person can't,
could.
but the family come in to make the arrangements.
What kind of a funeral home was this?
That is a true statement.
Yes,
they
okay.
cannot hear me. Or can they?
Well,
that's
can
a whole
they? That's
another
thing.
thing, Trish. But what kept me quiet was watching television. I wanted to be Marie Osmond when I grew up. I didn't know that wasn't just being Marie Osmond wasn't a job. I thought that was the job. But my most favorite thing to watch on television were the Muppets. The Muppets lit me up and made me feel alive. And I think about it now, here I was as a kid watching these pieces of fabric, these imaginative, amazing pieces of fabric expressing themselves fully. And I'd go downstairs to watch my dad put makeup on somebody, because that's where I could talk to him. And I'd look at that body and think, okay, what was in that made it express the same way that these puppets do? That's fascinating to me. What's that energy coming through us as humans? I was a curious kid, asking tons of questions, annoying every adult around me. But the biggest one was, who decided that? Who decided that? I have to take someone's last name, a boy's last name, when I get married? Who decided that? A boy's last name? That's silly.
He's here.
But yeah, he is. He's here. But I did not take his last name. My apologies to everyone on his family. Yeah. And it wasn't until, I don't remember the day or the time or how old I was, but I realized at a very early age, I got attention by being funny. And suddenly, oh, you see me. I'm really in the room. I'm not invisible. Oh, well, here we go. And in every space I was in, it was my mission to be the funniest person in the room. And in high school, I bugged my theater teacher. I wanted to be Gilda Radner. At that point, I wanted to be Gilda Radner. Not Marie. She wasn't as cool anymore. Gilda was not really relevant when I was in high school either, but I wanted to be Gilda Radner. And I was introduced to improvisation. And from improvisation, I moved to the birthplace of improvisation in Chicago and started studying and doing everything there. I was there for about 4.5 years, got really tired of being around all the funniest people in the room. Because of course, as the dynamics of humanity are, when you go into a place as the funniest person in the room, and then they're all the funniest people from their own rooms, we have to establish a hierarchy real quick. And I was more interested in the work than I was in then being the funniest person in the room, because it brought me more of myself to go on stage, scare the crap out of myself, trying new things, being with new people, and being more of my full expression. So I'm pretty depressed. I come back home. You're about 29 years old, living with your parents. It's a lot of fun. And things had evolved, and I was doing more things, here. I met my husband. We started having children. And I was hit about 11 years ago in a car accident where I was hit by the car that was hit by a drunk driver who wrapped that car around my car. And the thing about that, though, is that this wasn't my first accident. I've been hit 3 times and was a passenger in a rollover. I know, yeah, cool stuff. What I didn't realize, I was angry, terribly angry. And I remember through that anger screaming, why am I getting hit by cars? I didn't cause any of those accidents. Why me? Why have I been hit 3 times? Why was I what the hell? And what came to me was, you aren't being present. And it wasn't that my not being present was creating car accidents. My not being present was in my daily life. I can laugh at it now. So this being told I had PTSD and not wanting it, just, oh, no, I wasn't in a war, I'm good. I didn't cause this. This isn't anything I chose. It informed me. Trauma has informed me of my life and how I am in the world and how other people show up in the world. When I look at people through the lens of a nervous system, I understand where they are and I can meet them a little bit differently than I did before, which is actually what I was doing on stage. I was meeting my scene partners in the moment, wherever they were in that moment, And that alone probably caused a little bit of dysregulation too. When you're standing on the side of the stage waiting to jump in, it's like being on the back of an ambulance waiting for another accident to go help. It's exactly the same thing. But the gift was that I had to learn about my body. And when I started learning about neuroplasticity and how, oh wow, the way our brains work, that's really just our brains helping us to survive. It's just done it so well that now it's constricted in just survival mode. Everything I'm trying to survive from. And getting a text from somebody who drives me crazy is not the same thing as being chased by a tiger. But it sure feels like it in that moment, right?
Was it me?
Nope, wasn't you. I just happened to look at you in that moment. It wasn't you, Trish. Not that time. But just kidding. Did she hear that? I don't know. Okay. So our brain overall is a prediction machine. And Carly, if you could pop up that first brain slide. It's a big prediction machine, and the three pieces that I'll talk about, just really simply, are the prefrontal cortex, the amygdala, and the hippocampus. So this is a side, the left hemisphere of the brain, image of that. The prefrontal cortex is right above your eyes there. The amygdala is this tiny little almond-shaped thing that's right above your ear. You have one on either hemisphere of your brain, either side. And its buddy, its partner in crime, is the hippocampus, which is just next to that, and then it wraps up and over the amygdala. So these are two separate parts of the brain. What I learned was that the amygdala is basically the fire chief of all sensory information that's coming into your body. So all five senses are being watched by the amygdala. And as soon as they see something that looks familiar from your past that was a threat, it goes right on over to the hippocampus. It says, all right, great, we got this going on. It's coming in from this particular location. And hippocampus, you're the giant filing cabinet of all of your lived memories. So all of your lived experiences get filed away in the hippocampus. And the amygdala tells it, okay, this is the emotion you need to encode this particular thing with. And at the same time, the amygdala is then sending out all of the stress hormones to the body, taking all the blood and glucose and oxygen and moving it out to your extremities so that you can fight or run. And when we are in that state, when we are stuck in fight or flight there, all the blood, glucose, and oxygen is helping to create all of the resources to be able to fight or run. We have no access to the prefrontal cortex. The prefrontal cortex is actually the part of the brain where we can access all of our best versions of ourselves. Our ability to empathize with other people, our ability to express and be who we are, be patient and calm in the moment. It's also where our working memory comes from. So if you've ever been in a panic and why can't I do this? That was me. I was stuck in that. Reading a recipe has been hell on earth since my last accident. I have to calm myself, ground myself, and take every little piece one step at a time. One step at a time. So they have like this relationship where only blood, glucose, and oxygen can go to one area of the brain at a time. It can either be in your prefrontal cortex when you calm yourself and center yourself, or in that lovely limbic space. Okay, Carly, you can throw that next one up. And the way that it gets into the body is there's this superhighway called the vagus nerve that comes from the brainstem. It innervates actually all around your face, your neck, and down into all of your organs. So it's a superhighway where all these sensations and the information that the amygdala is getting, that's the route that it sends all this information to the rest of the body. But it's also where the amygdala gets the information from the senses from the rest of the body as well. So it's a two-way street. And whatever we focus on, the things that are negative or nasty or horrible events in our lives, and we think about them repetitively, we are creating a neurological superhighway going to that hippocampus to retrieve that memory. And that's really what that extra stress and that constant hamster wheel of stress is about, is that we've retrieved that so many times that it's so easy to get next time. But the cool thing about then the neuroplasticity of it all is that the opposite is also true. So if I take my focus away from all the stuff that was nasty that happened, and instead I start moving it towards, well, what's going well? Gratitude is a huge, huge prefrontal cortex opener. Ooh, I'm safe right now. No cars in sight. All right. I've got this chair holding me. My breath is breathing itself. I have access to food and water, all the basic tiny, tiny things. And eventually from that space, I got stronger and stronger and stronger and more able to be in the moment. The other thing is that I thought that the car accidents were like the only trauma in my whole life, which is silly. They actually were the catalyst to awakening my consciousness to all trauma. And living with death, of course, probably had a little bit to do with some early childhood trauma. Certainly this concept of invisibility, but something that I've also opened up to recently and has not been feeling so great is the feeling of irrelevance. And recognizing that every step I've taken in my life to be seen and heard and of value has been rooted in the trauma of feeling irrelevant and invisible. So if that's the case, what do I do to move forward? What the hell is that?
Oh God, you're going to ask me, aren't you?
No, I'm not asking you at all. Because that's the other thing. I'm in a space of keep going within, keep going deeper to find the answer. And it did come to me yesterday, but that's not till later in our pages here.
Oh gosh,
Yeah.
we got to hurry.
Oh, yeah, we gotta hurry, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, on stage, I felt relevant. Off stage, I did not feel relevant, right? So keep being on stage, that was my drug. Be on stage, be on stage, be on stage. And it was true, I was not present in my life. I felt better on stage than I did in real life. And so, learning to flip it, to be in my actual life and be in my body and take a ride on my body in real time is now what I help other people to do, because I've had to do it by sheer universal force. And I'm cool with that. I'm okay with that. It's okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I just like you, I appreciate you naming that, because I've been in Unity for all these years and I've just mastered this part. I mean, I can understand, I can talk metaphysics, I can take my imagination to imagine that I am one with all of creation, but I did that so well that I could negate what was in here that was like the complete opposite, let's just say, right? And so as I attended to, and I appreciate you just saying that there's a physiology going on here. There's things happening that isn't our fault, and it just happens. And so if you really want to work with changing your whole life, you have to work with the whole person, right? The mind, the body, and the spirit, not just dreaming about our oneness while we're holding all this pain and unresolved whatever, right? Yeah. I just want to speak to trauma is a word that's used a lot these days, and Kerstin and I have both learned from the author and psychotherapist Judith Blackstone, who defines trauma as any experience that is too overwhelming for us to experience with our whole being. That's a lot of things. This is especially true for us as children, of course, where a lot of trauma occurs, but just as you said, car accidents, extraordinary physical, mental pain, prolonged periods of high stress and uncertainty, all of that can be a traumatic experience. And so what we can't hold and process in that moment, our body kicks in and holds for us. And I want to just point out, Kerstin has also has reminded me through your learning about Myrtle Fillmore of how profound Myrtle's teachings really were. Myrtle Fillmore is the co-founder of Unity, many of you know, who did the healing work on herself to heal herself from tuberculosis. She was given 5 years to live when she was 41, and heard that amazing sentence that you are a child of God, therefore you do not inherit illness. And it kind of blew her imagination, was like, wait a minute, because I've been told I inherited this, and I've believed it, and I've gone about actually telling myself, like, my body is broken, my body's bad, my body's incompetent. And so she did the work. First and foremost, what's so important is before she just started laying on affirmations, she got in touch with the pain of that, with the way she had limited herself and criticized herself, even though as she was studying to be this, I am this expression of divine life. And yet I've internalized these limiting thoughts in such a way that first she had to feel that, to feel the shame of that, to feel the disappointment of that, and asked her body for forgiveness, cell by cell, part by part. And then she could claim this higher and higher truth, that divine life and love is flowing through her right now, and see that working through every cell and atom of her body. And that was really the catalyst. And we are going to have to move this forward.
Yeah, we have to. It's okay. It's okay.
I knew it.
Well, I mean, that was a thing I had zero awareness of because I was all in my head, right?
Right.
Totally in my head. Oh, okay, if I just imagine it, cool. It's not coming.
Right.
That's stupid. Who decided that? Those people should shut up. Yeah.
Wait, what?
Yeah, just hearing that
Yes.
concept because I was only in 10% of my body.
Right.
And not listening to the other 90.
Right. So when we
Right.
make that move towards
Getting
really expanding and embodying this truth that we're teaching, everything in our being that contradicts it comes right up. Boom. Maria Nemeth calls that trouble at the border.
On the border.
Right? All the evidence for why we can't do what we think we're envisioning and who do you think you are? All that comes right back up. And so to ignore it doesn't do any good. To turn toward it, where does that come from? Who decided that? And then you find out, I did. I'm the one that ultimately decided that. Another great statement of Myrtle Fillmore's is, the only problem you have is in your mind. And you put it there. Now, other, forces gave us these ideas, but then we locked them in. And so that's part of the releasing. That's part of these limiting thoughts are not true. But I have to acknowledge they're there and how they've limited me.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Now what are we going to do? Because we're late.
How late are we? Oh, we're late.
We're so late.
Let's
People
do
are
this.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to say something, and I want you to watch what's going to happen in your body. Let's play a game. Yep, let's play a game. So the woman who created improvisation, and I like to say that as the truth, it is, her name was Viola Spolin. A woman created this comedic way of living in the world. Actually, she had nothing to do with comedy. It became that. And that's what she did not claim. But she claimed game brings us to ourselves and helps us to relieve ourselves of the things we hold on to. Just naturally. The game asks that of us. So in this game, it's called Feeling Self with Self. I'm pretty sure we can do this. Feeling Self with Self. The focus of this game is just feeling self with self. Here's what you're going to do. You're going to sit quietly and physically feel what I ask you to feel. I'll be the side coach. Think of it as a guided meditation, okay? All right, so take a deep breath and feel your feet on the ground. Feel your feet inside your shoes. Now feel your feet with your shoes. Aha. Feel your legs inside your pants or your skirt or your shorts. Feel your legs with your pants or your skirt or your shorts. Feel the waistband of your pants, shirt or skirt or shorts around your waist. And feel your waist with the waistband of your pants or your skirt or your shorts. Ouch. Feel your shirt on your torso. Feel your torso with your shirt. Feel your tongue inside your mouth. Feel your tongue with the inside of your mouth. Feel your eyeballs resting inside their sockets. Feel your eyeballs with the sockets. Feel your brain resting inside your skull. Feel your brain with the inside of your skull. Feel your hair on your head, your nose on your face, your ears on the side of your head. Feel the space around you in this moment. Now let the space feel you. And when you're ready, take another deep breath. Slowly bring yourself back to this moment. If you closed your eyes, you may open them. Just orient yourself around the room. This is where you really are. That could have taken you somewhere else. But I have some questions. What was it like to feel, or were you able to feel the difference between your shirt on your torso or feel your torso with your shirt? Yeah. Could you feel your eyeballs resting in their sockets? And the difference when your eyeball or your sockets were holding those eyeballs? Yeah. So let me shift this a little bit. So if I say to you, recognize what happens inside your body if I say the word taxes. 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 Perfect. Thank you for that. It could be the same internal thing.
Internal Revenue Service?
No. You might notice some constriction or sweaty palms or heartbeat when you hear the word taxes or Texas. Just depends on your lived experience. And what if I say sunrise? What do you notice happening internally? I'm hoping you're feeling some letting go, some release, right? And what if I say you are divine? Yeah.
A little bit of both.
Yep. That's exactly what I'm feeling. Constriction in my shoulders and my throat, but openness in my head and my arms. That's what I'm noticing. So, our body contains every experience we've ever been through in our entire lives. And I learned, unfortunately the hard way, but the necessary way for me and my thick skull, that if I can conjure and create chaos by being in my mind, and so it was, I can also conjure and create joy, and so it is. And I'm not the only person. It's our inherent wisdom. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much. So I love just that, I can have a hard time even feeling my body sometimes. And I haven't experienced any real trauma. I mean, I have, but nothing that would take me out of my body. So that's why I love yoga and stuff, where suddenly I'll just be weeping and I'm like, where the hell is that coming from? Because I'm so out of it's like my body is holding it. Or I'll feel joy. That's the other thing. It's not just, the trauma that we hold also kind of taps down the joy and the life and the energy of all of it.
Well, and when I have opened up these different parts that have held these things, they've dropped off through play, through therapy, through all the things I've done. I have more room in my body for more of my spirit to enter my body and express in different ways.
Yeah.
I love expressing in real time. Ugh! It feels good. Oh, I don't want to do that. It feels really good to do that.
You can't do that up here.
Oh, I just did.
Oh my goodness, all right.
Yeah. I mean, if I know it's there in my body, why not give it a voice and let it move along?
That's true. That's true. Not giving it a voice, not feeling it, tapping it down.
Oh,
Boy, it is just
That's
running
a
you.
tumor
Right.
waiting to happen. Yeah. Yeah. So, okay, here's that thing that came up. So that awareness of holding this internalized belief of being irrelevant appeared in my consciousness, right? And I've been asking myself, how the hell do I move forward if everything I've ever done has been tethered to needing to feel relevant? And it hit me yesterday. This was so perfect that we didn't do this last week when we were going to. Oh, this is so good. What came to me yesterday was that there's a difference between self-expression that comes from the depth of our being and the self-expression that comes from the held trauma.
For sure.
So when we courageously and compassionately shed what has been painful and heavy, we get to be in our bodies, taking a right on our bodies, and expressing the light that we have, the light. Oh, I'm so happy Ryan's here to sing because I get goosebumps. Oh my God, it makes me happy. And I don't want to be seen so much. I don't want to be seen so much as I want others to be able to see themselves. That's why I do what I do. And it just recentered me and refocused me, and I might take off out of this church.
Like
that, just
like, are you leaving? What's happening?
No,
Okay.
the feeling of it,
Yeah.
the knowing of it.
Yeah, I do want to say one more thing that Judith brought up that I found was so fascinating. The result of trauma is that we need to protect ourselves by constricting. And this happens through the fascia of our being. Constricting our minds and hearts, but also the fascia, a level of tissue throughout our body that is very susceptible to the mind and emotions. So it's the wisdom of the body. It's brilliant. And I just can't help but say Myrtle Fillmore, she might not have called it this, but she knew it.
Yeah.
She was working with it.
And it's come into other bodies. It's dropped into those bodies that needed to express it in a different way so that it could resonate in different areas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, let's just take a minute to let all of this land in us and to, take a breath, right? And to just acknowledge the fullness that we are in these bodies. We need these bodies to move about, to experience the physical realm. They are masterfully designed to support us in that process. And we have these minds that are capable of receiving and connecting and catching divine inspiration, divine ideas. And these hearts and this emotional body that is able to feel the realm, the full range of emotions, the depth of love, which ends up being the depth of grief. It's truly amazing. And running through it all is this spirit, this light, this intelligence that is from that one source of light and intelligence, by whatever name you know it. That the essence of it is the essence of each one of us and all of creation. I mean, let your mind and your body and your heart open to the depth of that awareness, that concept. Envision it. Let it captivate your mind more than all the stories and the neat to-do lists and the how you're not enough or how someone else. I mean, let our mind receive the fullness of that. Every atom, every cell, every organ, every emotional capacity, this mind contains the intelligence that is behind all of creation. There is nothing we can't do when we know that. And so just connecting with that, we give thanks for the ability to know it, We are here because we know it and we want to grow into it. And how we do that is we leave here embodying it. So what is your next step today to keep you aligned with what this concept and this vision brings to life in you? One thing. That will lead to the next thing, that will lead to the next thing. So hold that in your heart. Make it your intention. And be gentle and compassionate with yourself. As you move more fully into your body, you can be assured that you will find discomfort there. So seek support however that occurs for you. And know that that discomfort is here to grow and expand you. That's what we're doing here together. For this opportunity, take a deep breath and give out a breath of gratitude. As we let this be, so it becomes our reality. All right, Ryan, bring it to life. Got it. Now meditation. Yeah. This is the time in our service where now that we're in our bodies, I should know where we give of our good. So I'll let you get your offering ready. We'll bless it, and then Ryan will do our closing song, which will be perfect for what we've done here. So there are baskets in the back for your cash and check. I know many of you give online, which we thank you for. There's information in your bulletin with a QR code about how you can do that. Please, and know that all that we do here is made possible by your generous donations. So let's bless all that is given today. Divine love, as me, blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. I am thankful.
You stumble through the days, got your head hung low, your sky's a shade of gray, like a zombie in the maze. You're asleep inside, but you can't shake awake, 'cause you're just a dead man walking, thinking that's your only option. But you can flip the switch and brighten up your darkest days. Sun is up and the colors blinded. Take a world and redefine it. Leave behind your narrow mind. You'll never be the same. Come alive, come alive. Go and light your light. Let it burn so bright. Reaching up to the sky. Oh, it's open wide. You're electrified. The world becomes a fantasy. You're more than you can ever be. 'Cause you're dreaming with your eyes wide open. You know you can't go back again to the world that you were living in. 'Cause you're dreaming with your eyes wide open. So come